Now I get to go into the defensive side of the ball. I am psyched for this. Get to talk about some possible free agents along the defensive line for the Houston Texans. Cue the intro. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of The Lead. Your host, as always, Harley Dugan. Long and behold, the defensive side of the ball is now going to be talked about in these upcoming videos, and I'm starting off with the defensive line. Look, as of now, you got Charles Omenihu, you got Jacob Martin, you got Ross Blacklock, and you got Brandon Dunn. Overall, I will say this. Omenihu looks like a guy that can be a much improved player coming into this year. Jacob Martin is somebody that if he was not misutilized the way he was last year, I think he could have done amazing things for the Houston Texans. And then you have Blacklock, who had about, 5% of the snaps, which was horrible. They just didn't use him whatsoever. I think it's very early to say that he's a bust. That's just extremely unfair for him. And Brandon Dunn, I could care less about. He's probably a guy that I could see being a roster cut down the line. But this is why we have free agency. This is why I got a few options that I think the Houston Texans definitely need to take a look at. And starting off with the list, and everybody knows it, it's Romeo Accora. Romeo Agora should be the top free agent guy for the Houston Texans, probably the number one guy to get. Overall, his market value from over the cap and spot track is right or set around 10 million. So look for him to get expected maybe 12 to 15 million. Those are the sweet numbers. But overall, Agora is an amazing guy. The 2 years I'd want to take a deep dive into is 2018 and 2020, and it's where he had 17 and a half combined sacks. He had 32 quarterback hits, 19 tackles for losses. Overall, Agora is a very athletic guy. He's 6'4", 260, and I think he's on the come up as a potential edge rusher. He fits perfect in that 4-3 role. And one thing about Lovie Smith, and that's you'll see a trend, is Lovie Smith's defense when he was with the Bears and even when he was with the Bucs, is he had really good pass rushers, and he thrives off pass rush. That's what he thrives off of. That's the success of his defense. And yes, of course, linebackers and secondaries are helpful too. It's a team defense. But at the end of the day, it starts with him getting pressure to the quarterback. You're going to see a lot of edge rushers on this list, really just edge rushers. There's going to be one guy, though, that I think could play a 3-tech in a 4-3 scheme that has a ton of upside. I will get to him. He will be the last guy I talk about. But Romeo Agora, overall in 2018, he played 73% of the snaps. 2020, he played 69% of the snaps. So with a guy you can grab that you're going to have to pay a little bit of money. Defensively, this team is atrocious. We all know this. Why not? For Romeo Agora, who's 25 years old, got 31 pressures in 2020, along with 10 sacks. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. So this is a guy that the Texans definitely, and he's been on everyone's YouTube channel. He's been everywhere on Twitter as well. This is a fan favorite that the Texans, man, they would really hit it out of the park if they got a guy like Romeo Agora. Or you go with somebody similar to him in Carl Lawson. And Carl Lawson also makes this list. He's only 26 years old. One of the best things about Carl Lawson is he was the second fastest get off at the line of scrimmage. So as soon as that ball's hiked, he was the second fastest to get off the line of scrimmage. 0.73 seconds. That is absolutely amazing. Give me that every day of the week. Like, inject that into my veins. The guy only had 68% of the snaps, so he wasn't used every single time. Carl Lawson is a guy that I think the Texans definitely would thrive if they got him. 44 pressures, 32 quarterback hits. The one thing the sack number. And yes, he doesn't get a lot of snaps, so his sacks aren't going to be as high, but I still think he has a ton of upside, and he's just really a pass rusher. I need to see what he can do in the run game, how he develops in there. But overall, similar to Romeo Accora, very young, tons of upside, and he's going to cost around that $12 to $15 million range a year. So you give a 3-4 year contract right around, let's say, 4-year contract for 60 million. That's probably what you're looking at getting one of these edge rushers, because those are very high value in the NFL. Then, you have those two youngsters, but then I go and look at somebody like a Carlos Dunlap in a deal where I can see the Texans doing. I could see them getting an older veteran like Carlos Dunlap, another guy that you could just rotate in there with him, and he with Jacob Martin, possibly Jonathan Grenard. I don't know how he would fit so much in a 4-3 defensive end or a 4-3 outside linebacker. I don't know how he fits, but you get a guy like Carlos Dunlap. He's only 31 years old, and a lot of people were like, oh man, he's old. He's not that good. Take a look at what he did with the Bengals and the Seahawks, night and day. With the Bengals last year, he was not that good. But then you go to the Seahawks, and all of a sudden he has 5 sacks, 22 pressures since week 8. So eight weeks of football. 5 sacks, 22 pressures. He increased his pressure rate. He increased his sack rate. He increased a lot of quarterback hits. Carlos Dunlap showed that he still has something left in the tank. At 31, 32 years old, you give the man a 1 or 2 year deal for the Texans, relatively cheap. I'm all in. Give him a 1 year. Look at maybe $5 to $8 million. 8 is a little too much for me if I'm looking at that. I'm thinking, hey, give him for a 2 year, $13 million deal. That's not bad at all. And I think you get him, because this defense isn't going to be fixed in a day. It's not going to be fixed in one offseason, and that's obvious. But you can do steps. You can make steps to, hinder the absolute garbage that was this defense last year. And you get a Dunlap, like I referenced earlier, you get a Dunlap, rotate them with a Menahue and Jacob Martin and possibly somebody else. Maybe you draft, maybe you sign somebody else. Who knows? But those are the 3 edge rushers I'm taking a look at. The last guy on this list can be a 3 tech in a 4-3 system. I'm looking near the defensive tackle position, and you can even flip him on the outside because he's done it before. And it's Robertson Harris. And a lot of people just went, Who? Roy Robertson Harris. Believe me, the guy is an absolute freak just watching his film. 6'7", 292, Roy Robertson Harris. Remember the name. 3 names, okay? 3 names in there. Remember, it's not as good as Brian Brody Calhoun, if you know what I mean, but it is Roy Robertson Harris. He played for the Chicago Bears, played with Vic Fangio for, I believe, 1 or 2 years, but he has played in a 4-3 system the last 2 or 3. I think it was the last 3 years. He played in a 4-3 system, and he played as that defensive tackle. 6'7", 292. The dude's an absolute monster, and he has tons of upside. He's only 26 years old. He's extremely athletic. He has extremely long arms. His lateral agility is absolutely awesome. His quickness, length, speed, all I'm saying is he has a ton of upside and a really good, cheap option that I think the Texans should look at. Okay, you put him next to Blacklock or whoever else. I just think that this defense needs a defensive tackle. And it's whether or not they draft one or they sign one in free agency. But I think a guy in Roy Robertson Harris is a relatively cheap, really tons of upside, and a good deal for the Texans, team-friendly deal. And these are the deals you're going to have to be looking for, Texan fans. You're not going to be getting these, top-of-the-line guys. Bud Dupree is going to get paid a ton of money. I don't think that's nowhere where the Texans are going to go. And even Agora and Lawson, who are on my list, I would love to spend some money and get them. But I can see a team overpaying for one of those guys just because of Agora's sack numbers, just because of Lawson's get-off speed at the line of scrimmage. Like, both of those guys are going to get some money. So hopefully the Texans do manage their cap, do manage some contracts, because Robertson Harris, ton of upside, somebody the Texans should definitely take a look at this offseason. That's it for today's video, guys. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for the notice to turn on. Drop your comments, your reactions down below in the comment section. Let me know if you think there's somebody I left off this list. Look, and I know there's a few more. A guy like Trey Hendrickson, not extremely high on. I think he's a buyer's beware type of pass rusher that it really benefited off of really good coverage and bad blocking assignments, and that's how he got a lot of his sacks. So that's somebody I wouldn't take a look at. Somebody I would possibly take a look at, Aldon Smith. Who else you got? You got Solomon Thomas. Not sure how well he fits. I didn't really look much into him at all. Kerry Hyder is another guy that you can definitely look at. Cassius Marsh, no, I don't want no Cassius Marsh either. But those are a few guys that I also looked at. As always, guys, go Astros, go Rockets, go Texans. You have a blessed day.